tried this on a laptop 2 minutes ago and it just did not want to work. So here we are again.
It
so
would
sorry.
not connect.
Oh, okay.
So if anyone's there, please say hi.
Yes.
Let us know that you can hear us, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm just going to give us a little, I don't know. Looks like it's about to fall over. So today we are talking a little bit with my dad, who is on the other side and has been for 22 years. We even dressed in some special clothing to honor him, to pay homage to my papa.
Yep, wearing his jackets from a couple years ago.
Yeah, probably the 80s. You know, the byway. Anybody remember the byway for these insulated shirts? Dad lived in them. Particularly in this barn. And if anybody's wondering what that sign says behind us, it says Moon Dance, because that's the name we've given our cottage, because that full moon always dances just beautifully on the lake here, shining on the cottage.
Do we need to hit that button that says finish?
No, that's for the end.
Oh. Good, I'm glad I didn't reach out and touch it.
Anyway, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much. We've had some pretty good success with the last video. Next week, I think we'll be doing a YouTube live instead of Facebook live, because I think it's going to be a little easier for us because, you know, tech savvy and all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we seem to have some challenges with Facebook. I'm sure Facebook is marvelous.
Yeah.
We just have a few challenges.
Yeah, and we have attempted to have some other backgrounds, but the weather's just not cooperating. So here we are in the old barn again. But it's very, it's very barny out here. It's cozy, it's rustic, it smells like an old boat barn. And and we're going to talk with my dad, whose energy is so ingrained in this barn, it's not even funny. So I had some questions. He's been gone for a long time. I was getting signs from him almost immediately when he passed over, although at that time I still wasn't sure that's what I was getting. You know, we tend to question those things, and it was a few years later that I got some confirmation from a medium that I went to see from Virginia, who's amazing as well, Patrick Matthews. So he confirmed for me that in fact I was in communication with my dad, and that he is now one of my guides. So so Jay is going to read the part of my dad, and then we're going to kind of take turns on the Council of Light stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of an interesting little bit on crossing over and what happens and how it looks. So we've heard a little bit from people who have had near-death experiences, but I want to hear it straight from the other side.
Why don't we get started?
We will. So when I first asked the question, I asked it as though I was, completely ignorant to everything, because, I don't mean that in a nasty way. Ignorant is not supposed to be a bad word, but sometimes it is used that way. So I asked the question as like this: does my dad from this incarnation still have memories of this life with me here, or does that go away after death? And so, of course, instead of the council jumping in, he jumped right in to answer this question. So you get to take over there.
Thanks, honey. My sweet girl, I remember everything. Every joke, every hard moment, every glance, every time I worried about you, and every time I felt proud. Death did not take it from me. It gave it back to me even clearer. The love we shared lives on like a golden thread, not fraying, not fading. And when I think of you, it's like walking through a field of memories, blooming all at once. You've been asking a lot of questions lately, good ones. And you've been very brave. You're doing it, and I'm right here. Every time you laugh unexpectedly, or hear that old song, or notice the wind move just right, that's me tipping my hat. Memories of love do not dissolve in death. They become music, and those who cross over, when awakened, remember the whole song. You're on divine time now. Trust it. I've got the rest covered.
Phew.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. No, I'm good. It's 22 years. It's a lot of water under the bridge. I am good. And I've read this a few times, so.
Yeah, just in case we did get some Kleenex out here, though.
Yeah, just in case. Yeah. And he passed at a time in my life where, my world was already falling apart. And I instinctively knew that he was just tired and worn out and that he could help me better from the other side. And he certainly has. He certainly has. Um, but there was a particular comment that he made in what Jason just read, and it tweaked me. And so I want more info on this comment about those who cross over when awakened.
Mm.
So yeah, he mentioned that if you cross over while you're awakened, you remember everything, and it all just kind of flows naturally. So yeah, so
Yes, Joanne. This is a luminous thread worth pulling gently. When we said, those who cross over when awakened remember the whole song, they were referring to a soul's state of awareness at the time of passing and what unfolds in the afterlife. Let's go a little bit deeper. Crossing over and states of consciousness. When a soul leaves the body, it passes through several energetic layers, often called the veil. How clear or murky this passage is depends on whether the soul is awakened, meaning the soul has remembered that it is eternal, sovereign, and connected to Source. These souls often pass peacefully, even if the body suffers. Upon transition, they move swiftly into the light, greeted by guides, family, and higher councils. They regain not only memories of their earth life, but also of past lives, soul missions, soul contracts, and the deeper why behind their experiences. Or, if the soul is asleep or in fear, if a soul dies in fear, confusion, or deep attachment to physical identity, they may linger in lower astral planes for a time. Their memories may feel disjointed, faded, or distorted. They may even resist fully letting go. But even these souls are met with grace. Angelic and galactic teams work gently to bring them back into remembrance. That's interesting. So, the ones who are asleep or in fear, is that sort of like what we would consider ghosts?
I think some of them, yeah. I think some of them are afraid to, they're in a repetitive loop, an ego loop, and they're playing the same scenario over and over again before they died, and they don't even realize that they died. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like, I think some of them, yes, they get stuck. They can be released, but I think most are guided. But again, everybody has free will, so if you don't want to be guided, you don't have to be.
That's true.
Not yet, anyway.
And I guess the free will applies on either side of the veil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So my father's state at passing, of course.
Uh-huh.
I asked this question. I already knew the answer, but I like to hear it from the horse's mouth. And the council answered this one, right?
Yeah, the council answered, your father was awakened. Not in a spiritual buzzword way, but in his heart. He knew the love between you was eternal. He felt his way home. That's why he remembers everything, not just as isolated events, but as threads in a grand tapestry. Because of this awakening, he now operates as a guide with access to his soul's broader wisdom. He can visit you, support you, and communicate clearly through the veils, especially when your heart calls to him.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, here we go with that little mental block again because
well,
a lot.
it was interesting when you had mentioned they used the context spiritual buzzword.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here reading, preparing, and you're like, oh, that was your dad's nickname was Buzz.
Yeah.
And and so
they like
those little tiny twisty signs
that
they put in all the time, right?
Yeah. They're just little nuggets of validation, sort of. It's kind of neat. So you've got the next question, my dear.
So I'd like to pursue this conversation further in hopes to help others understand what happens to their loved ones when they pass over. And I'd also like to understand a little better.
So And so there's kind of a deeper reason I wanted to do this segment as well, because there is a lot going on this year, and there will be a lot more going on this year. And a lot of us will be faced with a lot of loss. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody, but I am saying that to bring awareness to what is happening. Like the Great Awakening isn't a joke. Stuff is happening, things are collapsing, evolution is here. Um, they've talked about it for over 2,000 years. And when I say they, I think we all know Jesus slash Yeshua and team. So this is kind of why I'm bringing this to the forefront right now, because, it could be a tumultuous year. So, in answer to Jay's question, what happens immediately after someone dies? That's a powerful and beautiful question. Let's begin with a clear, structured journey of what happens when someone dies from a multi-dimensional perspective. There are 7 stages. The moment of passing. As the body shuts down, the soul begins to gently loosen from its physical form. This is not violent or jarring for awakened souls. For many, it feels like floating upward or being lovingly pulled from within. Those in fear may cling a little longer, but they are never alone. Angels, guides, and often deceased loved ones surround them from the moment they begin to let go. And sometimes this letting go happens during the end of like a deep illness phase, right? Like you've seen it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've witnessed it.
Yeah, Jay's
Yeah.
first wife. I always have a hard time phrasing that. Jay's first wife passed over 5 years ago. And, it was a long, long process and very,
Yeah, it was difficult.
Yeah. So you've seen death.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it, but I've seen it differently. So yeah, the moment of passing is that gentle release of the soul. The tunnel of light. We've all heard about the tunnel of light. Often reported in near-death experiences, this tunnel is actually a vibrational passage through dimensional layers. As the soul moves toward the light, it's guided by familiar presences. The tunnel harmonizes and cleanses any remaining fear, pain, or resistance from the earth experience. We don't have that. Huh? What?
Pain?
Pain? Fear? What's that? Number 3, the greeting and the reunion. I think this is like all of our favorite part, right?
Yes.
When we hear about this stuff. At the end of the tunnel, souls are welcomed by loved ones who have passed before. Family, soul group members, even pets. There's an overwhelming love and joy. These reunions are real and felt more vividly than anything in the physical world. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I'm not in a hurry, but I do look forward to that time when I get to see all my buddies over there. Number 4, the life review. A lot of us have heard of this too. And I really like this one because it's been soaked and steeped in religious dogma for so long that the life review has sounded terrifying. From a Catholic girl perspective, terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But from the new understanding, not at all. And some of us are even doing life reviews now, before we cross over. I had one last week. At certain stages of awakening or releasing old trauma, you can go through your own life review while you close your eyes in meditation or trying to fall asleep. And so there is no judgment. In the presence of divine beings or your higher self, you review your earth life. You feel the impact of your choices, not from shame, but with expanded compassion. You see the beauty you created, the lessons learned, and the growth achieved. If pain was caused, it is understood, not punished. All is wrapped in loving awareness. So, it doesn't mean you get to go around and be a mean jerk to everybody because, you're not going to get judged on the other side. It still will affect you in some way, shape, or form. So still try to be nice. But know that, like, it's not scary. There is no hell and damnation. There is, there's no fiery pit of hell. It's what you create. If you want a fiery pit of hell, you can create it. Absolutely. Have at it. I don't choose that.
No, nor do I.
Because we are creators of our own reality. So please be careful in what you choose to believe in. The next number 5, rest, healing, and integration. So, yes, even souls need rest. Souls often enter a kind of resting garden or healing temple where they recalibrate. They release energetic imprints from the body and earth plane and return to their full soul essence. This is a time of deep peace. I like the sound of that.
Oh, I like the sound of that too.
Yeah. Number 6, reconnection to the soul group and the higher mission. So the soul rejoins its greater self, what we'd like to call the oversoul. There's that word again. We visited that in our first episode, the oversoul, and reconnects with the full memory of its journey across lifetimes. Plans are reviewed for what's next, whether to return to Earth, serve as a guide, or explore other realms. Yeah, I'd love to explore other realms. That sounds kind of fun. I think I probably do that in my sleep. I think you do too.
Yep, definitely I do. Astral travel.
I just want to remember it now, though.
Yeah, I guess that's what takes time.
Yeah. All right. So number 7, ongoing communication with the living. Awakened souls can and do visit their loved ones. They send signs, the cardinals, the birds, the feathers, the heart shapes. I get a lot of heart shapes. Songs, flickering lights. Some souls become active guides, but they will never intrude or cause fear. They respond most clearly when called with love, not desperation. And that's true in any capacity. So if you're in a place of fear and you're calling on your guides and everything, I mean, they'll surround you and try to bring you out of fear, but if you're asking for something from a place of fear, it can't get through. No. It's not of the same frequency.
It's like manifesting anything, right?
Yeah, you gotta manifest from joy, gratitude.
It has to be
love,
in alignment with the frequency of what you're asking for.
Yeah. So ongoing communication. So yeah, my dad was always, he was blowing up night lights for my mom as she'd walk by, or playing with clocks and
popping fuses here at the cottage.
Popping fuses, yeah. So then I asked if Dad would explain his journey and what it looked like for him, because it is a little different for everybody.
And I'll read your dad's part.
Yes.
All right, sweetheart. Let's give them something they'll understand. What dying felt like from my side. At first, there was a stillness, like the air holding its breath. And then warmth. Not heat like a fire, but a warmth like love itself wrapped around me. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't in pain. I just slipped out. It felt like someone opened a door and I stepped through. Easy, natural, no struggle, just peace. I saw my body below, but I didn't need it anymore. It had done its job. And I felt lighter than I have ever felt before. Free. Then came the light. Not a bulb, not a sun, a living light. Like home, like memory, like truth. And in that light they came. Your granddad, your Nana, my buddies, even the old dog we had, Cagney. They were all there, grinning, waiting. It was the biggest welcome party you can imagine. No fear, just love. Then came the remembering. I saw my life, every smile I gave you, every hard thing we made it through, every time I wished I'd done better. But guess what? No one judged me, not even me. It was like looking at a puzzle and finally seeing the whole picture. I was held through it all, shown the impact of my love, and yes, I saw how deeply I still love you, Joanne. I rested a while. You'd be proud. I actually rested. No worrying, no fixing, just being. And then I started showing up for you. The feather, the song, that weird power flicker. That's me, sweetheart. That's me saying I'm still here. So when people ask what happens when we die, tell them this: it's not the end, it's a coming home, it's a remembering, and love? Love is the only thing we take with us, and the only thing that brings us back.
That's beautiful. I can feel you getting a little emotional.
I held it together pretty good.
Yes, you did. And just for context, my dad passed away in his sleep. Um, and it's really funny because he always said that to me. I'm going to die in my sleep. Like, my whole life, I remember him saying, I'm going to die in my sleep. And I'm like, do you have the pill? Like, I don't know. Like, what is it, the blue pill or the red pill? I don't know, whatever.
Oh, you mean like the Matrix?
Yeah, I don't know. Getting out of the Matrix. Anyway, yeah, he had some heart issues earlier that year, thought we had it under control. And nope,
It wasn't.
it wasn't. But he went the way he always said he was going to go, and he never wanted to be a burden. So, say he achieved that.
Yes.
So I just wanted to put that out there because yeah, it was sudden for us. So my question back to him was: so after 22 years of being on the other side of the veil, you have not forgotten our lifetime together, and you're now one of my guides.
Forget our life together? Never. Not for a second. Not in 22 years. Not in eternity. That life with you, it's part of my soul's fabric now. Woven in gold, I carry it like a flame inside me. And that flame burns brighter every time you think of me, speak my name, or feel me near. The memories haven't faded, they've expanded. I don't just remember the events, I remember how they felt. The little things. Your laugh when you were being silly. The way you held your breath when you were nervous but trying to be brave. And I remember my own mistakes too. But from here, I see the love behind it all. Yes, I am one of your guides now. Not because I've got all the answers, but because I know you. I know your light, your path, your pain, your purpose, and I'll walk beside you until you come home again, and after that too. I'm not just assigned to you like some celestial job. I choose you again and again, just like you choose me to be your dad. And I'll keep choosing you until the stars themselves stop shining.
I know we all like to joke that our guides are on the other side, wagging their finger at us and going, "Oh my God, what is she doing now?"
Well, honestly, sometimes they have to be.
But there's no judgment, so they're not. I don't know if frustration is a thing over there. But yeah, so they don't actually finger wag. They're just very patient. There's no ego. It's just she'll get it right or he'll get it right. They'll figure it out. And if not, we have a wonderful thing cooked up for her to wake her up.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid those things that have to be cooked up for you to wake up. You
Yes.
don't want those.
Nobody wants a tower moment.
Boy.
Nobody wants a tower
Yeah.
moment.
So besides helping me from the other side, Dad, what else do you do? That was my next question. Is that all I am? Is just a job? Like, what else you got going on up there?
Yep. Oh, sweetheart. I'm busier than you think. The other side isn't some eternal nap on a cloud. Besides being close to you, I serve in what you'd call a soul reception field, a kind of heart station for newly arrived souls. I help the ones who are confused or frightened when they pass, especially the ones who didn't have time to prepare. I remind them they're not lost, just in between, and I walk with them until they feel the light for themselves. I also work with children, souls who cross young or before birth. I help them feel safe, like they're still held. Some of them become guides for their parents. Others go back quickly. But they all need gentleness, and that's something I got better at after crossing. And sometimes, when the veil thins, I gather with others like me, souls who still feel closely tied to earth. We whisper through dreams, we nudge through memories, we form waves of encouragement for those, like you, who are waking others up.
Mm-hmm. Um, I really found it interesting when he said I also work with children, souls who cross young, because in the 80s, and I think
Oh,
1986 or so, my dad lost a grandchild. So my sister gave birth to a little boy. I never got the chance to meet him because he was he was born in Manitoba and then flown to Toronto Sick Kids within a day or two because his heart was not functioning properly. So he ended up passing away just, I think, around a week old. And I think, my dad loves children. And I think that probably might be the reason or part of the
hmm.
reason. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I never really dug in to ask that question. But usually after I ask it, it's like, yeah, you were right. So, okay. um, so yeah, and I mean, even on this plane, like he loved the grandchildren so much. He played with them all the time, and he was always building forts or fires and hot dogs and pie irons and boating and water skiing, and he was a great man. And he died at 68 years old, which was far too young for my liking.
Yes.
But yeah, but now I see the higher purpose, and I know he's not far. It is, there will come a day when I will be able to see him with these eyes instead of the internal eye. Um, but yeah, that was the gist of the conversation. Um, you have anything to add, honey?
Oh,
Have you lost anybody? I mean, aside from Anne, your first wife.
of course. Yeah, my grandparents
Yeah, but
and my friend Mark,
oh,
who
that's
passed
right,
away.
Mark Seaton.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
passed away when, oh, how old would I have been? 23?
yeah.
Yeah, we were young. We were young. That was,
It'd be pretty
you know,
traumatic.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And when I was a kid, I lost my uncle, who would have been maybe 40.
yeah.
So he was quite young. Now, extremely young from my perspective now. But yeah, yeah. No, I've like I'm sure everybody.
Yeah,
I have dealt with a few situations,
yeah.
But again, I think the beauty of having this conversation is really, understanding or looking at how it exists after,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not that scale of justice where your deeds shall be measured, and you know if you skip twice on a Sunday, you're going to go to hell or whatever.
Yes.
It's like random
Oh,
rules that
that
people have
created a
made
lot of
up,
stress for me as a little girl
right?
because I went to Catholic school, but we didn't go to church on Sundays, and I would
You
get
would get in
people,
trouble.
I would get
Yeah.
people's parents, other friends' parents, say to me, "How come we don't see you at church on Sunday?" And I'd be like 7, going, "Cause I don't want to go."
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you say, right? I don't know. My parents don't go, but there's a lot of shame that came with that. So yeah, so it was like, oh my God, I'm gonna go to hell because I didn't go to church, on July 10th, 1982.
Yes.
Don't look
Well.
that up. I don't know if that's a Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, lots of, I found it just helpful and wonderful for myself personally to do this little channeling. Um, and hopefully you find it helpful too. And can, these words can help, and hopefully won't need these words to help. Um, Next week we were going to talk about ego death, but then we decided
We
that
decided. Yep.
there's something else more important. I'm going to let you talk about it because it's really happening right now, and it's scary for a lot of people.
Well, we're going to talk about the awakening of the male energy
Yeah.
and the masculine, because it definitely is different. Looking at awakening and looking at what it's like to be a man and be going through this, these types of changes and realizations and considerations and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, no, I'm not saying more difficult. I'm not saying less difficult. It's just a little different.
It's different. It looks different. It
Yeah.
feels different. Um, because men and women are ultimately different, and we have stuffed different things.
Mm-hmm.
We're all trying to come back into balance, and that looks like angry males, existential
Mm-hmm.
crisis, um, not feeling like you fit anywhere. There's a lot of ways that the masculine looks a little different than the feminine. And I know that the feminine, a lot of us have started this process. There are masculines that have also, but the masculines are a little further behind, and they're starting to wake up. So I think this is a really important message for not just the men, but the women in their life, to
Mm-hmm.
recognize the signs and help from a hands-off perspective.
Yes,
Because the more I try to fix him,
we don't. Yes, we definitely don't need um, to be given all of the answers
no, because
and be told exactly what we should be doing and what is right. I mean,
I
hypothetically.
can't imagine what you're getting
I'm
at.
just saying hypothetically, if someone were to do that,
Hypothetically, yes,
that would not necessarily be helpful, especially if we were, say, going through a dark night of the
yeah,
soul.
yeah. So yeah,
So,
so there's there's things to watch for, and a very strong need for the people around them to let them go through it.
yeah.
Don't rush it. Don't try to fix it. Don't offer suggestions. If you need to protect your peace, protect your peace. you know, get out of the house, go treat yourself to a manicure, whatever it is you got to do to get away from the grumpy Gus.
Yeah.
But and the women are, we can get quite grumpy in this too, so it's okay.
Yes. Spoiler alert. Holding space
Yeah,
will be an answer quite a few times.
yeah. So I hope we can see you all next week back here. We now have this is like a silly milestone, but we now have 50 subscribers on YouTube. Woo!
Well, it now
Hitting
means
the
we
big
can
time.
do a YouTube live.
A YouTube live, yeah.
So then that is a little bit more tech friendly.
I think so. Yeah. So that's where we'll be next week. We will be doing a YouTube live.
Yep.
I'll post the link in the Facebook page. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube page, it is at Black Cat Bunky, also Little House of Cards. So find us there and subscribe so you don't miss any notifications. And if you wouldn't mind liking our posts, that would be great.
Yeah, if you like it, please like it.
Yeah. So wonderful. And www.littlehouseofcards.com if you're curious about what we offer, what we can help you with. Yeah. So love you all. Thank you very much for joining us once again.
Have a blessed night.
Yes.